Hello, Davy. Oh, very nice. I can't hear. There you are. I hear you now. Say something.
I said I was looking at your background.
I'm looking at yours. I love it. I love it. I love it. And how are you, my love? How are you?
Well, yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, it's been a beautiful day. I've been teaching all day, and yeah, it's good. I'm happy.
Very cool. You look wonderful.
Oh, so do you. So do you. So bright. So bright.
Oh, I had a good chuckle today after the Sri Vidya class with Swami Pranav. One of the devotees managed to wrangle an excuse to get Sri Ma to come say hello to us.
Oh, wow.
Oh no, it gets better. And we've not met. I've never met her in person. So she does not know me. And she's getting older, so she can't see. So she's pointing at the tiles, going, "Who's that? And who's that? And who's that?" And he's telling her, Shrima, who it is. Then she points at me and goes, "Who's that man?"
Blind, hun. She's blind, obviously.
Stop laughing. And she said that. And it just like I cracked up because she's so cute
Oh,
about
yeah.
it. And like I don't mind at all. Doesn't bother me. But I couldn't like it's still funny to me. At that man, it's funny, and like you could hear everybody's butthole snap shut. It's okay. It's funny. It's okay.
Yeah. The woman can't see, and if you had your hair tied back like that, she definitely can't see. Yeah.
Back, no adornment. I definitely wasn't dressed like this. I was
Yeah.
plain clothes the way a man would be dressed, an American would be dressed. So yeah, I looked like a dude.
Oh, well, you got to say hi to Ma, so that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. And how was your class today? Was it good?
It was very good. They're always way too long. It's only supposed to be an hour, but it just seems to embrace eternity.
Those are the best kind. Those are the best kind. Yeah.
But it,
How far is your computer from you?
my computer is right here. This is my phone.
Oh, okay. You're coming in and out just a little bit, but it might just be because I'm talking also, and maybe after I put myself on mute, maybe then it'll pick up.
Let
And
me let me see if I change computers instead of the cell phone. Let me try a computer. I've been fussing with this all day, trying to figure out how to make this work.
I love the background there, so don't lose the background. Although
Oh,
you're disappearing into it.
yeah.
You're disappearing into Ma.
No, I think I'm gonna have to lose the background with the PC. It doesn't do, which sucks, but it's what it is. Jyotima,
Hello, Jyoti. How are you?
trying to figure out this.
I've made you both co-host.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. Oh, greetings to Sri Devi. Om Jai Durgaye Namaha. Oh, beautiful. Tell her hello. Tell her hello. Tell her Jai Ma.
Put this on mute because otherwise it's going to be awful.
And Davy, you think that 6:30 to 6:50 is long enough? The 20 minutes for the home? Good. Okay. Oh, I think we lost Jyoti. Okay.
Yeah. Is this any better?
Say a little something.
Namah Shivaya.
Perfect. Everybody will be muted when you're talking, so it might just be that I'm speaking over you. Yeah, it might just be that I'm stepping on you. I love my magical chair. Sometimes it's there, and sometimes it's not. Oh heavens.
Let's see how we can do this, because I'll be using this for tomorrow and Monday for the presentations.
Okay.
But let's try the phone. Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay. Hello, hello.
There we go.
Yay, your background's back. Hello, Jyotima. How are you? How are you? Good to see you. Good to see you.
Nice to see you too. Oh, look at your background.
It was fun. It was fun trying to find the right picture that fit in the frame, you know. Yeah. And that didn't, like, I have this great, you know, disappearing chair. I guess the orange is striking enough, you know. How are you doing, hon? How are you?
I'm good. How are you both doing?
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm going to make you both co-hosts. And there you go, Jyoti, and there you go, Davy. And so as people start coming on, we already have Lori in the waiting room. We have about 100 people who have registered for Zoom.
Wow.
Yeah. And then there's about 200 that say that they're going to watch on Facebook. So I'll go live on Facebook shortly. So we'll have to keep an eye on the waiting room. Can you see the waiting room if you hit participants?
I can, yes, I can see that.
And you can see that Lori's in the waiting room?
Yes.
Okay, great. Davey?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, perfect. And then I have the chat open on my screen. And so we should probably all keep that open too in case anybody has questions. And so we can all keep an eye on that, although we do have time for questions put to the side. Durga should be here soon. I'm going to make it so that everybody is muted and the only ones who can unmute them are us. So if somebody raises their hand or wants to say something, they're going to have to put it into the chat room. And then we'll just have to keep our eye open for those little green hands up in the corner. Does that sound good? Yeah. Because otherwise we're going to have people coming in, stepping on, you know, vocally and stuff, and that's not going to work well.
So with the schedule for tonight, like I have, it's Diana Davy, correct? Is that right?
Yes, Davy is fine too.
Okay, and then I have Louisa's as well, and I just wanted to clarify with her if she wants to be called Louisa or Durga Maima. And then Swamini Ji, for your bio, I was just going to pull
I lost you.
pieces from the Kula Kamala website, if that's okay.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's long on there, so you can shorten it.
I was like practicing going through, like getting highlights. It's a beautiful one.
I had somebody one time, they said, just send me what you have on your website. So I did. They messaged me back. They said, can you shorten it? I said, well, how short would you like it? They said 3 sentences. I said,
oh, wow.
Okay. Oh, goodness.
I was born, I lived
That's
one day.
So I'm excited about tonight. I think it's going to be amazing. We will go live on Zoom, live on Facebook too. And yeah, so what do you think? Any thoughts, any questions, everybody excited? Happy Navratri! Jai Ma! Jai Ma! Oh, Jai Ma. Jai Ma. So wonderful. So wonderful. If you have a picture of Ma on your computer, Jyoti, you can, where it says stop video or start video for you, down on the bottom left side.
Mhm.
If you click that little up arrow where it says either start or stop video, you'll see an option, choose virtual background. And then it'll give you the option once you open that. Do you see it?
I do. Yeah, Matthew showed me this before. I totally forgot about it, so thank you.
Absolutely. So now it'll open you up and you'll see yourself and you'll see some possible virtual backgrounds. If you have a picture on your computer that you prefer to use, you can click the little add under to the right-hand side above your options, the little plus sign.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was looking. I was like, where do I add that?
Did you find it?
Yes.
Cool. And now we get to watch the magic.
So that looks like it's downloading Smart Virtual Background Package.
Okay. Oh, beautiful. Yeah. That's
like
great.
Okay, because like I like to get her face in there.
You would have to go in and edit the photo in another program and then re-upload it. If you have one that's more like a Facebook, what do they call that? A Facebook title bar or something, or a header. Okay, and then now Luis is here too.
Hey!
Okay, just
Hello, Durga.
Ah! She's connecting. You get so excited to see people that you're to hear you.
I know, I start saying hi and they can't even hear yet. So, hello, Durga. Not yet? There she is. There she is.
Oh my goodness.
Hello, hello.
Good. Hello.
How are you?
I'm gonna try to get some lights in here.
Good idea. Good idea. Oh, there you go. That's beautiful.
Okay.
And so Jyoti Ma has a question for you.
Yes.
hi, how are you?
Hi.
Do you want to be called Durga Maima when I introduce you, or would you prefer Luisa, or Luisa also known as Durga Maima?
Durga Maima is perfect. If you like to say Luisa, known as Durga Maima, that's good as well. But I'm easy, like Sunday morning, babe.
What a good song. What a good song. Oh my goodness. That's wonderful. And so we were just talking about it, Durga. You are also a co-host. So the four of us are co-hosts for tonight. And each night that whoever is here, will all be co-hosts. We should just keep our eye on the waiting room, which you should be able to see under your participants. So make sure that your participants list is checked there and that you have the chat room up. And the schedule is that Devi will start us off with a wonderful homa, and then I'll do a 10-minute meditation followed by a satsang on tonight is Shailaputri, and then it'll go back to Devi, correct? No, it goes to Jyoti then, right? To Jyoti. And Jyoti, you're going to talk about Navratri. Is that?
Yes. I have a PowerPoint with some videos that I'm interjecting in there. And then depending on time, I also have like audio of mantra to Durga at the end.
Okay, wonderful. And you came in and out a little bit. Mine looks like it's running okay. My Wi-Fi, just checking that. And then after Jyoti, then Durga, then you'll go. And And tonight you're going to be talking on.
The essence of Chai Devi.
Very good.
So this evening, we'll actually just start with Durga and the NavDurg. So the 9 herbs for the 9 Durgas.
Oh, wonderful. Very good. And then at 10 o'clock, we'll do a closing prayer. So we still have people registering. I just got another registration coming. So we're expecting about almost 100 people. So I'm going to start opening it up now, if that's okay. I'll start letting people in.
I just have one quick question.
Sure.
I guess Swaminiji, I will, before Devi does Homa, I'll introduce her, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
All
So
right.
you introduce each one of each section as it comes up. And
Okay.
maybe even, and if we run a little bit late, it's fine. It's, we don't have to stay to specific times. But if you want to say a couple of words at the very beginning, just to welcome everybody and, thank you for joining us for Navratri. You know what to say. You know.
You should do that though.
I'll do it at the beginning of mine too, but you do it at the very beginning. You do it at the very beginning. Sounds good?
All right, got it.
All right, I'm going to start admitting people. Hello, everyone, and welcome. We have you muted, and we're going to ask you to stay muted until the time comes for discussion. We have quite a few people to admit into the session this evening, and we have quite a few people still registering. Actually, they keep coming in. And so we thank you for your patience for the next 5 minutes or so as we get everybody settled. And we'll also be going live on Facebook in a few moments as well. And hello to everyone on Facebook. And welcome to our Navratri celebration. We will get started in just a few moments. Jyoti, do you think I should leave it on speaker view or on gallery?
Oh, I like speaker view. Gallery's always nice as well. So.
Okay, we'll do speaker. I think that'll work well.
And then I'm going to share also the Facebook Live too. Are you live in the event or on Kula's page?
I'm live on my page.
There you are. So was I. Technology is amazing, isn't it?
It certainly is. And then from here, I'm going to share it there.
Welcome to everyone who's joining us now. We have everyone on mute currently, and we'll talk a little bit about the program in a couple of moments. There's a very large number of people that were going to join us tonight, so we're going to start just in a few minutes.
Okay. I think we can go ahead and get started, and I'll just keep admitting people as we go.
Welcome everyone to the most amazing time of year, Navratri. And I feel so incredibly blessed to be with everyone tonight. We have amazing speakers this evening and over the course of Navratri celebration. We'll talk a little bit more about Navratri for those who are not familiar with the celebration, but I want you to know that tonight we're celebrating with millions of people around the world, and how incredibly beautiful that is to have that experience, that all of our energy together is celebrating this the sense of love and compassion and fortitude and birthing wonderful new things into this world, and then also really empowering this divine feminine energy. And so I welcome you. The platform for tonight is we're going to have everyone except for the co-hosts and the speakers on mute this evening. There is at the bottom here, if you are joining us on Zoom, there is a box that says chat. And so you can click chat and write a message in there if you have any questions. Later on the program, we're going to have some time for Q&A. And at that time, there is also a space here where you can raise your hand. And so we'll unmute you at that time when we call on you for to ask your question. So with that said, I'm going to introduce one of our wonderful co-hosts for the evening, Devi. She has been in the blissful presence of spiritual masters for most of her life. And as a child, Devi spent her formative years at the feet of Sri Brahmananda Saraswati at the Ananda Ashram in upstate New York. And when her guru took Mahasamadhi in the early 90s, she was embraced in the arms by Amma and became a devotee. With over 20 years as a kirtan leader, she's nourished and honed a passion for mantra, sacred text, and the performance of pujas, homas for the upliftment of all beings. And despite Devi's busy schedule, she makes time to be the music director for the local Santana Dharma class for children and the music coordinator for various satsangs in New Jersey. Diana, Devi, thank you so much for being here this evening and being one of the co-hosts and speakers during the week.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been, it was such an honor to be asked. Such amazing speakers. I'm viewing 4 amazing women in front of me, all of you emanations of that Durga that we're going to be worshiping these next 9 days. So thank you so much. All right, so I guess we're going to get rolling, huh? Minus the cat. Right, so it's we'll be starting with Homa for the next 9-10 days. I don't do calendar days or math unless I have to. And what that basically is we're going to be offering mantras into a fire for ritual transformation. It is one of the strongest forms of ritual you can do. First fire, then water, japa, and then actual individual puja, kind of like what you would do at your church. But we'll be doing fire today because, hey, who doesn't like to burn a little? And the mantras that we'll be using, one to feed Agni, that's specifically for this ritual, the Trayambakam mantra, the Mahamrityunjaya, the Gayatri mantra, Om Bhurabhuva Swaha, the Vyakriti mantra. Some may or may not be familiar with that, no biggie. And then we'll be offering the mantras for the individual Devis for each day of Navratri. So with your permission, we'll get started. Whoa. Om Sri Guru Bhyo Namaha Hari Om Dhyayamo Navati Tejomayim Hishtakim Snigdhabham Navilokanim Navatim Mandasmita Shremukhim Vatsalayamritavashanim Sumaturam Sankirtanalapanim Yamangi Madhusikta Suktim Amritanandatmikamishwari Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Dev Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Tasmai Shri Guruve Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakote Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakariyeshu Sarvadha. Om Agnaye Swaha Agnaye Idam Namama Prajapataye Swaha Prajapataye Idam Namama. Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tatsavetuvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyayana Prajodayat. Om Swaha Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tatsavetuvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyayana Prajodayat. Om Swaha Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tatsavetuvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyayana Prachodayat. Om Swaha Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardanam Urvarukamiv Bandhanam Mrityurmukshehamamritat. Om Swaha Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardanam Urvarukamiv Bandhanam Mrityurmukshehamamritat. Om Swaha Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardanam Urvarukamiv Bandhanam Mrityurmukshehamamritat. Om Swaha Om Swaha Agnaye Idam Namama Bhuva Swaha Vayave Idam Namama Swaha Suryaya Idam Namama Bhurabhuva Swaha Prajapataye Idam Namama. Om Devi Shailaputri Swaha. 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 Mantrahinam Kriyahinam Bhaktihinam Maheshwari Yadbhujitam Maya Devi Paripurnam Dadastate. Om Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Shanti Shanti Shanti. concludes day 1 Navratri Homa. Namo.
Thank you so much, Devi. For those of you that are joining us, Devi was doing a Homa ceremony for us to begin our Navratri. And now we're going to be led in a meditation followed by satsang with Swamini Ji. Swamini Shraddhananda Saraswati is the founder and primary spiritual teacher of Kula Kamala Foundation and Yoga Ashram. She's also currently serving as the interim chaplain at the Multi-Faith Center at Albright College in Reading, Pennsylvania. She began offering ministry with her community about 13 years ago, and her path to ministry was activated and empowered by her growing understanding of the universal teachings of Advaita Vedanta and Tantra, her practice of yoga, and her own path of healing. And with thousands of hours in advanced study in spirituality, yoga, yoga psychology, positive psychology, and Vedic counseling, Swamini Ji has been honored to serve a diverse array of individuals and communities. These include, but are not limited to, typical students of all ages, mental health staff and their clients, at-risk youth and their families, individuals with special needs, patients in and out of hospitals, and hospital staff. Some of Swamini Ji's early work include her authoring 2 hospital-based yoga therapy programs. And most recently, Swamini Ji authored a mindfulness program, I Am Mindful, for children identified in elementary and middle school as exhibiting behaviors that could be troublesome if not addressed. An educator, a leader, and a spiritual figure, Swamini Shraddhananda Saraswati Ji has provided spiritual programming at 5 colleges in New Jersey, both as continuing education coursework and as credit-based courses. And she's also offered numerous conferences and workshops globally. In her experience, she's found that collaborating with leaders and practitioners of diverse traditions empowered diverse communities to coexist more peacefully and thrive more effectively. And I think that right there just really sums up who she is. I'm going to butt into her bio for a moment and just say that she's one of the most inspiring women and teachers I have ever met. And I'm so blessed and honored to be sharing Navratri, to be part of this beautiful event that Swamini Ji has put together. She took her sannyasin vows last year in the banks of the Holy Mother Ganga River. So it's almost 1 year for that. And I love that she, some of her basic and most important teachings are on nonviolence, human rights and values, and women's rights, among so many other things. Swamini Ji, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Jyotima. Thank you. And welcome, everybody. It's so wonderful to have you all here today. and Devi, thank you so much. That was stunning and wonderful, as always. We're so excited to share this time with you all. And so we're just going to get right into it. We're going to begin with a meditation of sorts, a little bit of concentration followed by some silence, and then a little bit of repetition of mantra as well. So I'll ask you to sit up nice and tall and close your eyes. And just making sure that your seat is appropriate, that both feet are on the ground and that your spine is nice and tall, that your arms are resting comfortably either on your thighs or the chair arms of the chair you're sitting in, that you're not slouching, and that you are, in essence, preparing yourself to make an offering to the Divine Mother. And the offering is you, and that you are preparing yourself to place yourself in front of her, to ask her for her love, her grace, her understanding, her blessings, her presence, her darshan. And so take a moment, breathing in and breathing out, and allow the heart to be purified of everything that has come before this moment. Allow the heart to be pure. Allow the in-breath to receive the beautiful prana, the life force. Allow the out-breath to release whatever it is that you might be holding on to or carrying. You can always pick it back up later. You don't need it in this moment. Allow yourself to be an empty vessel. And take a nice deep breath in and a nice deep breath out. And as you breathe out, sigh. Feel stress leave the shoulders. Feel stress leave the face. And do that one more time. A nice breath in. And as you breathe out with a nice loud sigh. And then settling in. And with each breath out, feel that you are becoming more present. And feel that you are becoming more open, more receptive. Bring your awareness to the heart center and feel that there is a light there that is growing each moment. And as that light grows, it brings the joy of knowing the mother, welcoming the mother, communing with the mother. Beloved Mother Durga, the one who is difficult to reach, the one who is the protector of all her children, the one who is masterful and courageous, the one who is victorious. Shower your blessings upon us. Inspire us with your way. Inspire us with your compassion, with your love, with your dignity, and with your straightforward truth. Beloved Mother Lakshmi, the one who is abundant and full, the one who sustains, the one who allows us to be maintained. Shower us with your blessings. Bring to our hearts an abundance of love and compassion, and to our minds an abundance of creativity and understanding, and to our lives an abundance of devotion and unity. Beloved Mother Saraswati, shower your blessings upon us. Bring to us your wisdom, your knowledge. Allow us to recognize the sacred that exists in all things everywhere. Empower us to study well, to learn deeply, and to embrace fully the wisdom of unity, the wisdom of oneness, the wisdom of love. Beloved Mother Shakti, beloved essence of all that is in this universe, allow your energy to flow seamlessly through us. Allow any obstacles that we have created to that energy to be diminished and disappeared, that we might be empty vessels, available and willing to carry the essence of your truth through this world and through each and every moment. Setting your own personal intention now for this week. And then we'll sit in silence as those intentions simmer in our purified hearts. Placing the right hand onto the heart and the left hand onto the belly. And with each breath in, feel that you are receiving the gift of life, of breath, of presence. And with each breath out, feel that you are expressing gratitude to the Divine Mother for that gift. With each breath in, feel the body expand into your hands and beyond. And with each breath out, feel yourself soften into the gift and into the gratitude. Each breath in carries with it a joy, a simple but vast joy. And each breath out is an expression of that joy. And joining me, if you would like, I will be chanting the mantra of Shailaputri. Om Devi Shailaputri Namaha. 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 And just feeling the essence of that mantra. As it carries the essence of the mother in the form of Shailaputri to our being, to our experience, and to our heart. And then gently releasing the hands down and fluttering the eyes open. And taking a nice breath in, a nice breath out. And just spend this next moment just noticing how you feel, how your eyes feel, how your body feels, how your mind feels, how you feel from head to toe. And perhaps that mantra brought you some comfort. Perhaps it brought you some relief, some reassurance that you are love. And as Jyotima says, you are love and you are loved. And then if you haven't fluttered the eyes open already, you can certainly do so. Thank you all so much for being here this evening. So happy to join with you during this very special time of celebrating the mother. This time in the world is a very important time for every spiritualist and for every human being. It is a very important time for every living being. It is a very important time for the earth herself. This is a time for us to make a decision. It is a time for us to make a choice. And the choice that we have is simply, are we going to walk through the remainder of our life with our eyes closed? Or are we going to walk through our life with our eyes open and with an intention to serve the better, the common good, the better life for all involved? to serve the goodness, to serve the mother. And it sounds like it's a simple enough choice. But the reality is that it's actually simple to say, and it's kind of easy to think about, but it's not easy to do. Because to devote yourself to the path of the mother means that you will spend time with her. Time that you could be on Facebook or Instagram. Time that you could be hanging out with your friends. Initially, what she asks of you is to spend time with her, just you and her, so that you can come to know what her gifts are, what her wisdom entails, and why you would even want that in your life. You cultivate a relationship with her that is very intimate and very personal. And once you've made the choice to make room in your life for her, then you fall in love. And that falling in love leaves us in a place where we have no choice. We know that as children of the mother, we must take care of our siblings. As children of the mother, we need to honor her in her strength, in her courage, her wisdom, her truth, in all aspects of her being. To honor the sacred, that which she has brought forth. To come into relationship with the mother is to fall in love. And to fall in love with the mother is to relinquish any choice, is to just surrender and to recognize her everywhere. So we come together every year, once in the spring and once in the fall, to celebrate our relationship to her and to deepen our relationship to her, to recommit ourselves to walking through this life with eyes wide open and with heart wide open. And these 9 days are called Navratri, the 9 nights actually of the goddess. And it's during this time that, as I mentioned, we recommit ourselves to loving her, to adoring her, to being present in relationship to her, and to allowing her to infuse our intentions in every other relationship that we have. So this first night is a very special night because it's the first. And tonight, we celebrate one of the 9 forms, the NavDurg, the 9 forms of Durga. That goes by the name Shailaputri. But before we talk about Shailaputri, I just want to review a little bit about Ma herself. Many of you are familiar with yoga, and so you are potentially familiar with the term Shakti. Shakti is more than just a spiritual energy that you carry inside of your body. Shakti is the energy of the entire universe. It's the energy of all that ever is, all that ever will be, all that ever was. And Shakti is the Maha Devi in a formless state. She is energy, and she is free-flowing everywhere and in everything. And there came a time when this beautiful energy that we call Shakti needed to embody in order to protect her children. And we'll be talking about these beautiful stories of Ma throughout this week. So I'm going to be very short in this particular one because you'll be hearing about it quite a bit from Jyoti Ma in a little while. But there came a time when Shakti needed to incarnate into a form to come down to the earth and to protect her children. And the form that she appeared in is the form called Durga. Durga came from a fire, sitting on top of a lion. As I often like to say, sitting side saddle, in a beautiful red sari with gold trim, adorned with gems, 8 arms, each hand carrying a weapon or a symbol of some sort. And she was there for the specific purpose of conquering evil and wrongdoing in the world, so that our suffering could be diminished. Her name is often translated as that which is difficult to reach or that which is difficult to attain. And so what that tells us right away is that to get to know her is not so easy. I mean, it's very simple, but it's not so easy. All we have to do is surrender. But the problem is, we don't often want to. We often want to remain attached in this life to the things we are attached to. So we come into a spiritual practice and we think, I'm going to surrender now. Only there's always a little impression, a little remnant, a little something left behind from a previous experience that we're not quite willing to let go of. And most oftentimes that something is actually pretty huge. And so we try, we think about it, we struggle greatly. We become very tense and overwhelmed sometimes over the whole idea of it. And the simplicity of it is that all we ever had to do was let go. All we ever had to do was a free fall of sorts, knowing that her love would catch us, save us, and hold us close. So Durga, that which is difficult to attain, that which is difficult to reach, also called the protectress. And there came a point where she appears in other forms as well. Devi Ma Durga. And on this first night of Navratri, we celebrate Durga in the form of Shailaputri. Now, the name Shailaputri actually means daughter of the mountain. Putri means daughter, and Shaila means mountain. This is a picture of Shailaputra right behind me. You can see that she's adorned in a sari. She has beautiful gemstones, and she's sitting on top of Nandi, the bull. And again, she's sitting side saddle, which to me is an indication that she's got it together. And that the bull and the lion, in the case of Durga, sometimes she's also seen on top of a tiger, is not so fierce when she is with them. They are very submissive to her. They adore her, they love her, they serve her. And if an animal like a bull or a lion can surrender its primal nature to come into service of the mother, I'm certain we can too. Shailaputri is known as the embodiment of the Shakti power of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva are the Trideva. They are the 3, we could call them primary forms of the divine masculine in the Hindu tradition. Brahma is associated with creation, Vishnu is associated with maintenance, and Shiva is associated with destruction or death. Brahma's consort is Saraswati, Vishnu's consort is Lakshmi, and Shiva's consort is Durga Kali. Shailaputri is thought to be or recognized as the absolute embodiment of their power, which means that they would actually not have the strength to create, maintain, and destroy if it were not for her blessings. She blesses them with those abilities, just as she blesses us with ours. Anything that you have that comes to you, anything that you learn, anything, a job, a car, a home, a friend, a love. It's all a gift from the mother. Shailaputri is also considered to be a form of the Mother Earth. And so many of you, I'm certain, are very concerned about our environment. And the best way that you can, or one very important way that you can adore her, is to take care of the earth. Because to take care of the earth is to take care of her. To take care of the earth is to recognize that the earth is part of her body, just as the sun, the moon, and the stars are. So as we walk through this earth, how are we walking? As we walk across this earth, are we stomping our feet? Are we throwing our trash down? Are we being reckless? Or are we walking softly? Are we picking up other people's trash as a form of devotion? And are we happy to do so because of the deep, deep love that we feel for her? For the deep, deep gratitude that we have for her. So she is Mother Nature. She's also called Parvati. As a matter of fact, many of you are probably familiar with that name a little bit more than you are Shailaputri. Parvati is the wife of Shiva, and she is the mother of his two sons, Kartikeya and Ganesha. She has a few other names too that we'll talk about in a little while. But before I talk a little bit more about her, I'd like to talk about what happened just before she appeared. In a previous birth, she was born as the daughter of Daksha, and her name was Sati. Daksha was a very, very powerful person. And he was, and these stories also, I should just say, these stories sometimes have little variations depending upon whether you're listening to North Indian stories, South, East, or West. Sometimes in one region, there are a few different variations to it. So in this particular rendition, Daksha is a very powerful person who has a lot to do with religious institution. And he has a daughter, and her name is Sati. And Sati met Shiva and fell in love. She wanted to marry him. Daksha did not like Shiva. He thought Shiva was inappropriate. He thought that he wasn't good enough for his daughter. But Sati married him anyway. He finally agreed, and she married him. But Daksha never really let go of his anger toward Shiva for taking his daughter into marriage with him. And the story goes that there was a very large yagna that was being organized by Daksha and his wife, which had to do with some religious teachings that were going to be indoctrinated and a religious day that was happening. And actually this day, according to some of the stories, it lands on Shivaratri. And Shivaratri is the day and night of Shiva. So it is actually a time to be honoring Shiva. And here Daksha throws this huge gala and has this huge yagna, and he doesn't invite Shiva, and he doesn't invite Sati. Sati learns about this, and she becomes very upset. And she tells Shiva, I really would like to go and confront my father. Who do they think they are to do this without you there? And Shiva very gently tried to tell her no. But as he did, some of you will very much appreciate this, as the word no was leaving his mouth, Kali made an appearance. Kali came forward from Sati, and with Kali's amazing, fierce beauty, Shiva, like any good husband, go ahead and go. Go ahead. So Sati goes off to this beautiful gala. And when she gets there, her father is not happy to see her. None of the neighbors or the villagers come up to her and say anything positive. Only her mother embraces her. Now, the first lesson there is that only her mother embraces her. Even when she makes decisions that go against her father, that go against maybe what some people might consider to be social norms, mother is always there to embrace you. So even when you slip up, even when you make decisions that aren't in your possible best interest, or when you don't listen to your parents, mother is always there. The divine mother is always there to embrace you. So as she's receiving this embrace from her mother, she hears her father insulting Shiva very loudly. She becomes irate and she steps away from her mother and she immolates. She goes up in flames. Now Shiva feels her loss. He feels that she has disappeared from this realm. And he goes to the place where this great yagna took place. And he ends up beheading Daksha. And in his rage, many of the people that were there died. He set ablaze to the entire place. He took Sati, according to some stories, over his shoulder. According to other stories, he had her body draped over his head. And he began restlessly roaming through the three worlds in his grief. He just could not accept that his beloved was gone. He loved her so deeply. As he was running through the three worlds with Sati, every time his foot touched the ground, some amazing thing would happen, like a tsunami or a hurricane or an earthquake. Something would happen that would be very destructive. And so the Devas got together. Vishnu and Brahma got together. And they called Kali, because Kali, Mahakali, the great Kali, another form of Shiva's love. Because she was the only one that they felt could really get to him, that could really talk to him and talk him down from this place where he was at, this very, very deep grief and deep sorrow. And so as the eternal consort of Sad Shiva, she appeared before him and she said the following: "We share a bond that is eternal, my Lord. As Mahakala, you are forever seated in the heart of this Kali. In this birth, you and I could not seek the peace of a stable relationship, but I promise you that I'll be back soon in yet another form. The motive of this birth is still incomplete, Shiva, and only you can take it to its completion. Soon, Sati's parts will fall in numerous places around the world. Mahakala, it is my wish that you establish a Shakti Peeth in each of those places. Those will become centers of my worship and of all my devotees." Seeing Kali brought relief to Shiva's heart. But then she disappeared, and that relief quickly became anger again. He began his dance of destruction once more, and at this point, Vishnu comes forward. Thinking about what Kali had said to him, he decides that he's going to take his chakra and he's going to cut Sati's body up into 51 pieces. Some stories say 52. And that wherever those pieces of her body land upon the earth, that a Shakti Peeth will be installed there, a great center of devotion for the Divine Mother. So this happens. Shiva goes into a deep, deep grief. I mean, on one level, he realizes, I'm sure, that this is a great honor to be able to have all these Shakti Peeths dedicated to his beloved Sati. But on the other hand, Sati's physical body is no longer there with him. And in this human form, he's very attached to her. He loves her. With all his heart, he loves her. Just as with all our hearts, we can come into loving the Mother. With all our hearts, we can come into a deep love for her. So he goes off into the mountains in order to go into a deep meditation to deal with his grief or to not deal with it. And while he's there, a demon named Tarka comes along. And Tarka goes to Brahma. Now, for those of you who understand this, Brahma gives boons to the absolute worst people. You know, he's always giving boons to people who are going to end up misusing those gifts. So Tarka comes forward and he tells Brahma, I'd like a gift. I'd like a boon for all of my penance, all of my prayers to you. And he says, what do you want? And Tarka says, well, I would like to only be able to be killed by one of Shiva's children. Now, Tarka thought in his own mind, this is so cool because Shiva's never coming out of that meditation. He's never going to come back to this world. He's never going to take on the role of a householder again. Sati is gone. I'm totally going to live forever. Brahma, not really perhaps thinking it through completely, gives him the boon. As soon as he does, he starts wreaking havoc. And some time passes. People are being exploited. The world is suffering greatly. And all of the mother's devotees come together to pray to her, to pray to Sati, to ask her to come back. Please be reincarnated. Please come back in another form, and please awaken Shiva to the depth of his love so that you can marry him, so that he can have a child, so the child can grow and go to battle with Tarka and end Tarka's reign of terror in the world. After some period of time, she agrees. And she comes back. She comes back as Shailaputri. Now, it's interesting when we talk about the names of the mother, because she also comes back as Parvati. She also comes back as Bhavani and as Himavati. She comes back, and we have many different names that we use depending upon what role she is particularly playing in any given moment. So as the mother, as the wife, as the consort, there's a different name for that, a different description for that. So she comes back as Shailaputri, the one who married Shiva, also called Parvati, and that's how most of you probably know her. And when she comes back, she looks very much again like this beautiful goddess that is over my shoulder. She has a half moon on her head, which indicates her love of Shiva and her devotion to him, her union with him. And she rides the bull Nandi, which is also associated with Shiva. She carries a trident in one hand and a lotus in another hand. The lotus representing purity and the trident representing power, the power of Shakti. Now, at some point, Indra became the god of war, became very disrespectful of her, and she slayed his ego. And as a result of that, Indra and many of the other devas, many of the other minor devas said, in fact, you are Shakti. And we all, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Indra, all of us are indebted to you, because without you, we would have no Shakti. So we will not disrespect you again. Please accept our apologies. And again, there's so many different lessons to be had as we move through these stories. And here we're learning that humility is really important. I'm going to say that again. Humility is very important. It is important that we have the courage and the strength and the honesty to acknowledge when we have misbehaved in some way that has hurt someone, when we have had an intention that was harmful. Because it is only through humility that we can right ourselves, that we can come back to a place of more radiant intention, a more truer intention. So humility is actually extremely important. Now, there's lots of things that can be said about Shailaputri. So she's here, and one of the things about Shiva is that he is off in this meditation, and he really doesn't want to be woken from this meditation. So how is she going to stir him to get him to fall in love with her, to recognize that she's the incarnation of Sati, to accept her love of him? She begins an amazing tapas, an amazing sadhana, a spiritual practice, oftentimes practicing directly in front of him, so that he might be moved by the strength of her discipline, because it's something that Shiva loves. He loves discipline. Just think about how much discipline it takes to sit in meditation. Meditation is the art of Shiva. And he is the great meditator. So he loves the discipline that goes along with that. And so she shows him her discipline. And she is initially a very young woman. You know, she might be 15, 16 years old when she finds Shiva and she attempts to swoon him. But he doesn't have anything to do with it. But she continues. She's not getting the result that she has intended, but instead of getting frustrated, she deepens her practice. Instead of getting frustrated, she continues her practice, and she becomes more and more and more disciplined in herself. And the rest of that story comes tomorrow. But just think about that for a moment. What do we do as human beings when things don't go our way? Maybe we try for a few times. Maybe we try for a day, a week, a year. We get frustrated, we get angry. Sometimes we throw our hands up in the air and we say, that's it, I've had enough, I'm out of here. What the mother so eloquently teaches us here is that there is an importance, a necessity even, to staying, to deepening, to devoting, to really becoming skillful and masterful at whatever it is that we have dedicated ourselves to. And I guess it kind of goes back to the old saying, which I'm going to paraphrase, that, you know, if you do it once, you do many things one time, you're a jack of all trades. If you do one thing many times, you become a skilled practitioner. And so Shailaputri knew this, and so she stayed with Shiva. She stayed in front of him. She stayed with her sadhana, her spiritual practice. She continued on. And so one of her great, great qualities is patience. Patience. She's been considered the embodiment of patience. Now, patience is a spiritual virtue. And it's something that I'm sad to say is not present very much in our world today, for a lot of different reasons. But if we don't learn how to cultivate both humility and patience, then how are we ever going to get ourselves out of the predicament that we find ourselves in? Without humility, without patience, how will we ever have enough space within ourselves to see the possibility of an amazing tomorrow, of a wonderful next year? And even more importantly, if we don't cultivate humility within ourselves and patience within ourselves, how will we ever know the beauty of this very moment? If all we're doing is trying to rush through it to get to the next something. So Shailaputri teaches us this through her example. Now here's another thing. It's through her example. With Ma, she teaches us everything through example. The example of her grace. She teaches us through the example of her life and her essence and her experience. Every time she embodies, she is teaching us the path. Isn't that amazing? Not only is she telling us, she is living the path so that we can see very, very clearly what it is that we need to do in order to awaken to the essence of who we really are. And what does that mean anyway? What is it, who I really am, who you really are? Well, it's a really big question. And I guarantee you that if we don't cultivate humility and patience and compassion and unity and strength and courage, we're never going to find out. Many of the scriptures talk about the true self as being one with what is. And if in our hearts we say, I'm a Shakta, I am dedicated to the mother, and therefore I dedicate my life, my rituals, my mantras, my yoga practice, my meditation, all to the mother, then who we really are has something to do with that union. It has something to do with surrendering even more deeply into that union, as deep as we can. Dive off the cliff. Just jump. And allow yourself to free fall into her grace. That is what humility allows you to do. Because humility, you're not worried about looking dumb. You're not worried about other people laughing. You're not worried about other people not understanding. You just know within your own heart that you got to shed all that in order to come close to her. And close to her is where we find out who we really are, what we really are, what our potential truly is, what our dharma truly is, close to her. But if we are unwilling to take the dive, to free fall, to surrender, to even practice on a regular basis, then we're only ever going to have little pieces of answers here and there that just might entice us to continue on, but might not entice us to go deeper. If our unhealthy ego is that strong that it keeps us from her, then we'll have moments of epiphany and we'll think that those moments are everything, when in reality they're breadcrumbs. The moments are breadcrumbs. The mother is the point. So everything that we do in our practice, in our life, the service we commit to is for her. The patience, the humility, the compassion, the striving for unity, and the surrender to unity. See, we have to strive first, right? It's kind of an interesting dilemma we find ourselves in as humans. We strive first and surrender later. It's like we have to strive. We got to really kind of try to force it in order to use all that random energy. And then once we've used up all that energy and we're really friggin' tired, then we just surrender. And then we realize, I didn't really need to do all that energetic stuff. I could have just surrendered the whole time. But by then we kind of understand, that the resistance is sometimes necessary in order to put us in line, and to bring our energies a little bit in line as well, to the lessons learned. That's the beautiful Leela, that's the beautiful play, is that we remember and then we forget, and then we remember and then we forget, and then we remember and then we forget. And the only way to stay remembered, the only way to stay remembered is to surrender completely. The word remembered, I'm going to go on a little tangent now because I just said this word and it gets me every time. The word remembered means to remember, to recompile, to put the thing back together again. So I would suggest to you that most of us in this day and age are living in such a way that we are dismembered. We leave a part over here and a part over there and a part behind us, a big part behind us, most of us behind us, a little part in the future. And we're constantly looking around, trying to find the parts that we think we've lost, misplaced, tossed away. Look at what happened to Sati when she was dismembered. Her pieces became Shaktipits. They became centers of devotion. Powerful, powerful centers of devotion. What if all the dismembering that you have experienced in your life has been for the sake of you remembering the sacred? And what if all of that part of yourself is left over here, part back there, a little bit in the future? Maybe the sole purpose of all of that is so that when you've had enough of the pain and suffering, that you bring it all back to center and you remember it. You remember it into a greater wholeness that not only includes you, but includes every child of the mother and every living being that the mother has ever brought forward. The world herself, the earth herself, and everything upon that earth. So it seems to me that when we talk about these things, that there comes a moment where we're like, boy, we have a lot of work to do. Boy, do we have a lot of work to do. But it's okay, because the work is the point. The work is not separate from your practice. And this is another, gift that Shailaputri, she shows us. The work is not separate from the practice. Her work of coming back, into this incarnation and picking up a very devout practice, a very devout sadhana, a very devout work, and a very devout work ethic. That is in and of itself the whole point. Because what is she awakening through that practice but consciousness itself? Shiva. Who is she awakening? What is she awakening through the process of her own work? Shiva. Consciousness. Shiva is consciousness. So she's telling us through the example of her story that we will not come to know consciousness until we dedicate ourselves to the work that we need to do, and that we also let go of our attachment to its outcome. That we work for the sake of the work alone. And that whatever the outcome is, it is thine will, not mine. But we walk through the world today, and then we say, well, I earned that, and I earned that, and that's mine, and that's mine. And why do you have that? I should have that. Give me that. There's no place for that. It's very human, of course it is. We all do it. But the reality is that if what we are looking for, and we need to be really honest with ourselves about this, if what we are looking for is a better world for everyone, a cleaner world, a more united world, a more equitable, just world, then we have to put away those selfish practices. It's okay to have something for yourself, of course it is. But do you have to have so much that the other has none? That's the question we need to ask ourselves. Do we have so much that we actually lose sight of what it is that we're supposed to do with it? Or can we be humble in what we have been given to steward and use it for the betterment of all. And oftentimes, people don't give so much of themselves because they're afraid of what other people are going to say. They're afraid of what they're going to lose. And there's a great story, because there always is, of a cobbler. And he lives in a village. And he always goes to the households that need something. And he gives them whatever it is that they need. Maybe they need some money for rent. Maybe they need some food. He's always giving them what they need. Maybe they need shoes. He gives them shoes. And there's this other man, and he lives up on the hill. And he's really wealthy. I mean, he's like a king almost, you know, but he's very isolated and alone. And he's got so much wealth. And the people of the village spend so much time talking about him. They say, oh, he's greedy. He's selfish. He's a bad, bad person. Oh my gosh. And look, this cobbler who has nothing gives everything he has. Everything he has. Time passes by. The people are caught up in their gossip, praising one and condemning the other. And the man up on the hill gets sick and dies. So the cobbler calls everybody together. And he says, we should have a funeral. We should do the death rites. And the people in the village are like, no, we shouldn't. He wasn't a good person. He doesn't deserve anything. I spit on his grave. What a lousy individual. He never gave anything to anyone. And they started just cursing this man, condemning him and his soul forever. The cobbler yelled at the top of his lungs, stop. And he looked at them and he said, are you foolish? Are you really that blind? I'm a cobbler. I make a couple of pennies here, a couple of pennies there, a couple of rupees here, a couple of rupees there. He said, I don't have money to give you shoes. I don't have money to give you food. I don't have money to pay your rent. Where do you think that came from? It came from him. But he didn't want you to know that. Because in his humility, he didn't want you to feel indebted to him. So he asked me if I would give it to you instead. Everybody felt so badly. But the point of this story is being a good steward of what it is that the mother has graced you with in this life. You see, the things that we receive are not only for us, they're for everybody. And so when you have resources, you share them. When you see a hungry person, you give them food. If you know somebody who needs gas in their car and you've got $10, give them a gas card, give them $10 for gas. There's little things that we can do along the way that allow for everyone's suffering to be eased. But what it requires of us in order to be able to, in order to be able to commit such random, continuous, ongoing, every single day acts of kindness is to cultivate the practice of humility, to cultivate a practice of patience, and to cultivate a devotion and a gratitude to the mother that she has given it to us so that we can give it to those who need it. Not so that we could keep it in our cupboard for some other day. So the first, and oftentimes considered to be the most profound, because she comes first, of these NavDurg. And I guess that she sets the pace. She is the foundation upon which the other 8 nights are built. And we'll see each night that there will be other qualities that come to the forefront in the stories of the Mata, the mother, and the examples that she sets for us. And what we might see, if we look very closely, is that in order to cultivate these other qualities, we need to have a foundation of both humility and patience, as well as strength and courage and discipline. So we'll take a moment and we'll ask if anybody has any questions. Are there any questions? And you can either type it into the chat or you can raise your hand. Hello, Savitri, Saraswati. So good to see you. You're very welcome. Very welcome. Okay. So let us come into a few more moments of contemplating with gratitude and humility in our heart on the essence of Ma. And it's up to you, Durga, Shailaputri, perhaps you have another form. Maybe you're Christian and Mary is who calls to you. Whatever form it is that touches your heart, go to that. Let's sit nice and tall and close the eyes. Take a breath in and a breath out and offer that breath to the mother. Place the right hand on the heart and the left hand on the belly and feel that breath fill you up and then empty you out. And ask yourself in this moment, where in my life am I not holding a space for you? I wish to be more profoundly with you, to experience the nature of your sacredness, the gift of your grace, the wholeness that you offer. In those places in my life where I am resistant, please melt my resistance away. In those places in my life where I am distracted, doubtful, unsure, please send me courage, confidence, and faith. In those moments when I am petty, when I am judgmental and egotistical, please send me reminders that the ego is here to be my servant, not the other way around. And on those days and in those moments where I forget, where my heart is preoccupied with sorrow and suffering, please forgive me. And know that it is my longing to love you, to adore you, to know you, and to surrender to your divinity. And taking a few breaths in silence here. Om Devi Shailaputri Namaha. 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 Breathing in and breathing out. Know that each breath is the essence of the Divine Mother. Receive and offer generously and gratefully, and allow her to fill the empty vessel of your being with wisdom, with knowledge of your Dharma, with strength, courage, and love. Drawing the hands together in front of the heart, we'll lift our voices in one Om. Take a breath in. Om. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Jai Ma, Jai Mata Di. Again, before I turn it back over to Jyoti Ma, such a gift to have you all here with us this evening. We actually have people from all over the world with us. We have people here from India, from different countries in South America. We have individuals joining us this week from Japan and Taiwan, from England and Ireland, all over the United States, Canada, Mexico, many of the islands. It's amazing. It truly is how much of a love there is globally for the mother. As Jyoti so beautifully said when we first began, there are literally millions upon millions, maybe billions of people who are praising her and coming into a deep, deep devoted love this week, reminding themselves, recentering, remembering, and reestablishing their dedication and their devotion. So thank you all so much for sitting through this satsang with me, sending so much love your way, and the blessings of the Mother are with you always. Jai.
Jai. Much. Jai Ma.
Jai Ma.
Okay, so I'm attempting right now to share. Can everyone see that? Yes?
Yeah, we can see it now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, Jai Ma, thank you so much again, as Swamiji was saying, to be here this evening. I know, and I was looking at names also popping up. I was just like, I noticed some people's names, and I was like, oh my gosh, and she's from Austria. And it's like, right now, probably getting close to 2 o'clock in the morning there. And I had one of our Kirtanawalas who knew this later on in the week. She was trying to figure out, you know, whether she would be able to join us live or send a recording. And she's like, I wonder what time it will be there. I'm like, it'll be 3 o'clock in the morning. So for those of you who are here, and it's the middle of the night as well, when so many of us are sleeping, again, thank you so much for being here. So Navratri is such a special holiday and celebration of the divine feminine, of Shakti through the aspect of Mahadurga. And I loved hearing Swamiji share stories of Shakti, of the beautiful different aspects that we're honoring tonight of Shakti. And Shakti is this primordial energy that pervades everything. And one of my most favorite brief stories is one of the ways that the world was created. And the story is that there was Shiva, and it wasn't until he looked in the mirror and he saw Shakti did everything all of a sudden creation happen. And that was the Great Awakening. And so this Shakti, this creative energy, is in everything. It is matter. So all matter is Shakti, all energy is Shakti. And what a beautiful way to look at that divine feminine energy. And so as Swamiji said, this is Nava 9 and Ratri evening. And I wanted to share some videos with you this evening. I hope you'll enjoy them. So I'm going to start with one by Sadhguru, who's talking about this beautiful holiday of Navratri. So for some of you who are used to celebrating this will be old news, but Sadhguru is a very wonderful speaker. And for those of you that are new to Navratri, I hope this helps you, as well another video I have to share.
Navratri literally means 9 nights. Every month, after the no moon day.
I think Swamiji's trying to cue me on something. She nods her head yes.
Is there a video or is it just audio?
It's a video. Are you guys not seeing the video?
No, we're still seeing the PowerPoint.
Huh, okay.
So I think you might have to come out and open it in a different link and then reshare.
Okay. So I'm going to stop share and share screen. And here. And here. And you guys can see the YouTube now?
Yes.
Okay. We'll do this a couple times.
Navratri actually means 9 nights. Every month, after the no moon day or the Amavasya, after that, days are counted. 9th day is called Navami. These 9 days are considered feminine. Dasara is all about, in Karnataka it is about Chamandi, in Bengal it's about Durga, but essentially it's about the feminine goddess, the feminine divinity, because this quarter belongs to her. In this quarter, northern hemisphere of the planet becomes gentle because it receives the least amount of sunlight from now onwards. So everything becomes subdued and feminine. It's not on in a big way like that. So the worship of the feminine was prevalent right across the planet at one time. But unfortunately, certain very ambitious approach to even religion, like with everything else, conquest became the mode. When conquest became the mode, they burned the feminine out of the planet. We made it like masculine is the only way to be successful. And we have compelled even women to become very masculine today in their attitude and approach and emotion and thought, because somewhere we have made everybody understand masculine is the only way to success, conquest is the way. Conquest is not the way. To embrace is the way. You're trying to conquer the planet, that's what has led to all the disaster. If feminine was more dominant factor, or at least evenly balanced, I don't think you would have any ecological disaster, because feminine and earth worship came together, always. Those cultures which looked upon earth as mother and was in a worshipful attitude towards that, they never caused too much damage to the environment around them. Only those who saw conquest as a way of life, that is where this happened. After doing all this damage to the planet, still half the people cannot even eat properly. There is enough food on the planet, but half the people cannot eat properly. If feminine was dominant, the population would eat for sure. If feminine was dominant, compassion and love and aesthetics would be dominant, not conquest. If feminine found a better expression on this planet, maybe our stock market will not far hit 20,000. But generally people will smile more, be a little more happy, a little more loving. Life would be a little more beautiful, which is essentially what we want, isn't it? After all, it's in pursuit of human well-being all these things are done. But that's completely being forgotten, because that is the way of the masculine, that it just goes on in one way. The feminine is not trying to go anywhere. Feminine is happy where it is. That's the big difference. If these two things are in balance, then we can go somewhere and also enjoy where we are. That's what needs to happen in the world.
Now, go ahead and talk a little bit more. So the perception of the feminine versus all that it encompasses is one of the things that I think Sadhguru was talking about and Swaminiji was talking about. You know, I guess in the Western culture, we are really brought up to believe that women are to be very soft and to be very gentle. You know, I grew up in a household where my dad was in his 50s when I was born. He was a World War II vet, and I remember him telling me my role as a woman was to have good manners and to sew his socks and iron his handkerchiefs and carry a purse. And my mother was from a Western culture where her first marriage was an arranged marriage. And so she all told me constantly that there's a lot of value in boys, and girls are, you know, to look beautiful and to take care of the family. And so we have this training in our current Western culture, but really what we look at during Navratri is all these beautiful aspects of the divine feminine. So just when we talked about Shakti and Shiva, that there is this creation that happens because of Shakti. that Shakti can be extremely fierce, as we see in Makali. And Shakti can be incredibly nurturing, as we see in Parvati. And we can create with the power of Shakti. And so we get to look at, over the course of these 9 nights, 10 full days of celebration, all the beautiful aspects of this divine feminine. And so one of the beautiful, of course, everything has a story, right? And in an Indian culture, they call them leelas. And so leelas are these plays, these stories that are put on for us humans, so that we actually learn from them. And so, you know, when we look at these beautiful gods and goddesses, they are perfect, right? But they act out these leelas in order to show us imperfection, to show us struggle, to show us a way of conquering and also of acceptance as well. And so there is the story for Durga that we're going to watch. And, you know, I find that, I don't know about you, this month also being Halloween, my husband and my daughter are watching a lot of horror movies, and I'm not really into gore. There's certain stories that are told that are a little much. So the video I showed you is actually for children, but it's fun and it's softer. So I hope you enjoy it. So I'm going to stop share and then open up this one in a moment. Okay, share screen. All right, so we're back to YouTube again. Thank goodness for YouTube here.
Indian mythology is full of tales that inspire awe and wonder. The tale I am about to share is one such story. The story of Goddess Durga. Once upon a time, there was a tyrant called Mahishasur. He was part demon and part buffalo. Mahishasur meditated for thousands of years so he could please Lord Brahma and in return be blessed with immortality and power. After much penance, his plan worked. Lord Brahma came to him and said, "I am very pleased with your devotion. Ask me any boon that you desire." Without batting an eyelid, the arrogant Mahishasur said, "Lord, I don't want any man or god to be able to kill me." Brahma raised his hand in blessing and said, "Tathastu, so be it, my child." A twinkle in Brahma's eyes gave away the fact that maybe Mahishasur had left a loophole while seeking his blessing. Time would tell. Armed with this boon, Mahishasur considered himself immortal, as no man or god could lay hands on him. In his rage and pride, he practically destroyed the earth. The lands were soon covered in darkness, and his massacres were widespread. Not only that, he chased away the gods out of heaven. Scared, the gods went running to Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva and narrated their misfortune. The lords Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva were hopping mad. They conferred for a moment, and then they held each other and started to radiate a blinding light, a light never seen before. Out of this beautiful light was born the 10-armed goddess Durga, the embodiment of Adi Shakti. One by one, the gods approached her and gifted her a dazzling array of weapons. The mighty Sudarshan Chakra was given to her by Lord Vishnu. She got a kamandal or pitcher from Lord Brahma. She got a quiver full of arrows from Lord Varuna, the god of the sea, Lord Yama, the god of death, gave her a powerful scepter. Lord Indra, a thunderbolt to rattle the earth. Lord Vishwakarma, a menacing axe. Kal, or time, gave her a sharp sword. Airavata, Indra's white elephant, gave goddess Durga a bell. Its noise helped her confuse the demons. Lord Shiva gave her a dangerous trident. The mighty Himalayas give goddess Durga a lion to ride upon. Armed with 10 weapons, gifted to her by the gods, one for each arm, she looked ready to show Mahishasura who the boss was and went into battle with him. Durga battled Mahishasura for 10 whole days. On the 10th day, she managed to chop off his head with her trident. At last, the balance of life was restored. To celebrate this victory, we perform Durga Puja every year. Durga Puja is a 10-day carnival in Bengal. This day is also called Dussehra, and we celebrate Lord Ram killing Ravan too.
I hope you enjoyed that. So very simple mantra that you can do is Om Durgaya Namah. Namaha. And so we'll do that in a little bit. I don't want to do that right after the cartoon. We'll come back to that. So Navratri is 3 stages of our spiritual journey. So we talk about the 9 nights, right? So the first 3 days are, as Swamiji was talking about, it is to Durga, to Kali. It's the fierce, protective. Sometimes people would look at it as destructive aspect, but we'll talk more about the destructive in a positive sense soon. The second 3 days are Lakshmi for prosperity, and the third 3 days are Saraswati for wisdom, for knowledge. And so we look at again at the breaking up these 3 nights for Mahadurga, Mahalakshmi, and Mahasaraswati. And so I was talking to my daughter a couple of days ago, and we were talking a little bit about the nature of religion and a little bit about how it's related to our thoughts and beliefs. And so I was telling her that if we actually look at the earliest forms of beliefs, we can actually go back to, pre-Egyptians, we go back to cave paintings, so we're looking at like even, I'm trying to think, the oldest cave paintings are about 60,000 years ago. And so we were actually painting at that point animals. And until we started getting the past, 1,500 years, 1,000 years, we were not painting like people. We were always creating art in reflection of animals and nature. And that was something that we were really attracted to. And so when we were doing these cave paintings, they've even found remnants of altars showing that we were actually performing these spiritual practices. And so nature is, as Sadhguru was talking about, nature is actually connected to religion, because all of these spiritual beliefs, started with these questions trying to explain nature and the nature of who we are and what our role is here. And so when my daughter was visiting, we were watching the other day V for Vendetta. So, and it made me really think of this aspect of, of Durga, because Durga represents letting go of our fear, of offering up our fear, of offering up those things that which we cannot resolve ourselves. And so in V for Vendetta, the character that Natalie Portman plays, somewhere in the beginning of the movie when she meets this character V. She says to him that the one thing she wants is to live a life without fear. And it's interesting because in living a life without fear, she doesn't still even understand what that means. And so when approaching her fear, what happens is that she actually is decides that it's, forget about it. Trying to address this is too much. And she just wants to go back to the way things were. And he's explaining to her, you can't go back to the way things were. It's like now that you know and others know you're different, like you have to move forward with this. But I think that we can all relate to that when we all of a sudden are kind of like, okay, well, yes, I want to change. I want to do something. I want to, change my life. All of a sudden, when it starts to happen, we become really afraid. And it took us a while to even get past the fear to say, yes, I want to move forward. I want to burn off that fear. But then we become afraid of what could happen. And so if you've watched the movie before, you know that then at one point, V sets up this Leela for her, right? Where he puts her through this same process that he went to, where she believes that the government has imprisoned her, and she believes that the government is torturing her, and she is basically being beaten down physically and emotionally, and in a sense spiritually. And at the end, and because of her fear, everything looks real. But if she was able to sit back and look at the way everything is, she would notice that this is actually quite a false world that she's living in. And so when she finally gets past the fear of, for her, even death, at that point, and is told by one of the guards that she's free and she walks out, she notices that one of the guards that has been standing in the hallway the whole time is actually a dummy, and it's not even real. But her fear made it real. And so I think that that's one of the things that we have a tendency to want, is that we want to have this change, but we're so afraid of it. And so Mahadurga invites us to let go of that fear, to destroy it, rather than sitting in it. And so it is using the fire element, right? So earlier this evening, Devi did a beautiful homa for us. And so fire is in relation to the divine feminine in order to burn off this feeling, to burn off desire, to allow us to see more clearly, to take our yearning for transformation and to actually make it so. And fire and this divine feminine is related to the eyes. And so we must see clearly what it is that we're looking for, and we must see clearly what is going on around us. And so many times we're not able to do so. And so we need to start asking ourselves questions like, what is stopping me from love? What is stopping me from loving myself? What is stopping me from loving others? What is happening in me that I feel like I'm constantly afraid? What is it that I'm so afraid of letting go of? Why do I keep on coming back to the same bad habits? Why do I have this negative attitude that is, repeating over and over again? And so we really have to be able to see these questions. And at first, we may not be able to see all these layers of what is actually causing this. And so then we go through this process with Ma Durga. And, we say that the ego is limited because it's in this body, right? And so once we realize that we are in this illusion, this prison, that's really not a prison, but we believe it is because of our fear, then the next step is actually to do, as Swamini Ji was saying, which is surrender. And that is a very big word that's thrown around a lot, in a lot of spiritual beliefs. But then at the end of the day, if you actually examine what surrender is, it's actually very frightening for most people. So to surrender, to actually let go, means that I'm going to say, I have not been able to resolve this on my own. So I'm unable to fully love myself on my own. I'm unable to fully love everyone as they are on my own. I'm unable to step away from these bad habits on my own. And so, Ma, please help me. And once we do that, we say, Swaha, Swaha, I offer it. It is offered. It is done. And then this is where the surrender comes in. So the surrender has not yet actually happened. We think the surrender has happened, but it has not. Once we say swaha, this is where the surrender happens, because now we have to step back from the process. We have to step back from the results, because so many of us actually want to then control. We want to control the way things change. So for instance, if we want to make a huge change in our life and perhaps get rid of our toxic relationships, for some of us, we might say, okay, you know, Ma, I see that I can't do this on my own. And I really want to get out of these toxic relationships. And so I'm asking you to please help me, and swaha. But then we say, you know, when all of a sudden something blows up on Facebook, you know, or we get a call from that person's friend or family member that says, hey, you know, you are not actually like doing the work. Then all of a sudden, you know, you actually are going, okay, but I didn't want it to happen that way. So let's go back and we're going to change that, because I'd rather it happens this way, you know. So Ma, I really want your help, but I need you to not upset this person or that person. I need to make sure that my job stays the same, my house stays the same, this relationship stays the same, my financial situation stays the same or gets better, you know. So we start to control the way that Ma is actually helping us. And at that point, there has not been any surrender, right? And so truly, when we actually are asking for Ma's help, we're asking her to please just allow, allow you to do the work, because I am not going to get involved at all. And that takes a lot of self-restraint. And as you know, somebody was talking about, you know, the aspect tonight of tonight's Durga is a lot of discipline, right? To be able to say, I cannot change this myself, please help me. It is done. And then just let it go. Absolutely let go. And because you don't know, Mom might say, you know what, that person is actually good for you, because you're learning how to be more tolerant. You're learning how to love the divine in every aspect possible, in every form possible. So they are actually going to stay in your life. And this is a very hard lesson for you, but you can do it, because I know that you can. Or Ma says, okay, I'm going to take them apart, but in the process of taking them apart, you might lose X, Y, Z. And that's just going to happen in order to resolve this. And so that is what Durga is, right? And that's that fierce aspect of Kali is coming in and just being able to cut down those things. So Durga there in that beautiful Leela is showing us that sometimes it takes a long time to actually conquer our demons, our ego, our habits. And it takes a lot of different tools in our toolbox. And that we need to keep on having the discipline to move forward, but then also just allow the process to happen. And I did want to call out, though, how funny it is too. Like Swamiji was saying, you know, there's there's the boons just being given freely again. You know, I just thought that was really funny. And so then, you know, we have beautiful Lakshmi then, who is giving us wonderful, you know, we just say prosperity. So a lot of times people say, you know, Ma Lakshmi, thank you. They're asking for wealth, for money, for cars, for houses, you know. And so the thing is, though, that once you go through this process, the prosperity changes, right? So if you actually go through the first process, those first 3 nights of saying to Ma Durga, I need you to help remove these negative habits, to remove this, that which blocks me from you, that which blocks me from loving you, from loving others, from loving myself, which blocks the negative thoughts in my head. When you get to Ma Lakshmi, you're not going to be asking for, you know, a pay raise at work or a new car. You're going to be going to Ma Lakshmi. Ma Lakshmi, can you please instill more compassion in my heart? Ma Lakshmi, will you allow me to, now that I'm more open, I'm a cup that's empty for you to fill now. Will you please teach me the meaning of unconditional love? unconditional love for myself, so that when I start thinking negative things about me, I immediately will feel you in my heart and realize that I am a part of you, you're a part of me, and I can only love that. Mahalakshmi, can you please teach me about generosity? Teach me that I don't need a lot, to actually live by. And in that sense of detachment, I can always be looking to live simply and to give to others. And so when your cup is emptied by Durga and Lakshmi is filling it with these beautiful attributes, when you get to Saraswati, then suddenly the knowledge is there that you are everything, that there is no separation between you and every person on the Zoom call, your neighbors, the cat running down the street, the tree in your backyard, that it is actually all one. And so this is something from one of my Yoga Nidra teachers, Chitra Sukho, and she has like all these different levels we would look at from a physical Western perspective, as well in terms of like the dream states, from all of the different koshas, but I wanted to show you because it starts with the physical body and the senses and moves into the conscious mind, from the conscious mind to the subconscious mind, from the subconscious mind to the unconscious mind, which is where our samskaras live, and then eventually into the space of oneness. And so many of us live in this physical body and senses, and this conscious mind is where we start to say, eventually subconscious and the conscious mind say, okay, I'm ready for change. But suddenly the conscious mind snaps, the physical body snaps and says, I'm not ready, I'm too scared, right? Like the character in V. And so it actually takes then, the acceptance, the unconscious mind, coming in and allowing us to say, okay, Durga, I want to be an empty vessel, do your work. So that Durga can come in and start cleaning out from the unconscious to the subconscious to the conscious to the physical body. So that when we are being filled back up by Lakshmi, and after we start to have these positive things now building from the base, the physical body and the senses, to the conscious mind, to the subconscious mind, to the unconscious mind, when Saraswati comes in, then all of a sudden we recognize this oneness that we have here on this graph, Brahman, right? The energy of everything that's all around. Same thing with Shakti, that's all around. That we are part of this isness. There is no separation. And that's what Saraswati gives us. And so on a fun kind of note, because we can only be serious for a little bit before we get fun. I wanted to share with you a little bit of the 9 evenings. And the funness is like, there's also, there's so many different ways, because all these festivals are full of color and, feasts and music and bhajans, these beautiful fire ceremonies. And so we have here the different 9 evenings. And if you just take a screenshot, then you could know, because the colors associated with each evening are the colors that you can wear and what they are attributed to as well. So tonight would be orange, that's the orange, and energy, bringing in that Shakti energy in. Tomorrow night, goddess Brahmacharini is white for purity. We have on the 3rd day, goddess Chandra Gantana, red, fearlessness. And we keep on going. Royal blue for good health and wealth, yellow for happiness, green for new beginnings, gray for transforming, purple for intellect and peace, peacock green for desires of gold, and then we'll get to the final 10th day that concludes the festival, where good has triumphed, and we have Durga Puja. You can be as colorful as you want to, and wear your favorite colors. So a beautiful mantra that can be chanted that I shared in my Facebook earlier today is the Chamunda mantra. So Om, Aim, Krim, Klim, Chamundaye, Viche. And I'd like for us to take a couple moments to actually chant that together. So let me get my drone in the background. And sit straight up. You can bring your hands together if you choose at your heart center. Take some nice deep breaths in and out. You can keep the eyes open or close them. Let's start with chanting Om 3 times. Om. Om Hrim Klim Chamundaye Viche. 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 Last time. Om Hrim Klim Chamundaye Viche. All right. And so there's a beautiful mantra that Swami Guru Sharananda sings for Durga Ma, and I wanted to share that with you. So there is no video for this, just audio. It's a long track, so we won't listen to all 11 minutes. We'll listen to about 5 minutes. So for you, feel free to sit and close your eyes and listen to chant along. So there's a beautiful story that Swamiji, who we were just listening to chant, and he had shared during the fire day when we were going over the different elements. And it was a young boy who had run into a temple and was sitting right by the front where the altar is. And the small child of like 5 or 6 was just kneeling there and just praying and praying and praying and praying and praying for hours and hours. And the Brahmin priest in the temple had not been used to seeing even adults come in and pray with such fervor and pray with such devotion for such long periods of time. And so the adults came and they went into the temple and they offered, you know, their prayers. They offered gifts to the temple. They received prasad and they left, and this child is still there. And so when the child finally came out of praying many hours later, the priest said to him, you know, what is it that you're praying? You're praying so incredibly seriously and with such devotion. And the child said, I don't know any of the prayers that you say at temple. I was never taught them. So my mother is really sick. So all I knew how to do was to pray A, B, C, D, E, F, G in that language. And that's what the child was praying and said, I hope that was enough for the Divine Mother to hear me in order to help me. And it is in that innocence, it is in that yearning when we ask the Divine Mother to come to us like a child who with such innocence and yearning says, I really, really need your help. Mother will always be there. Ma will always be there to help us. And so as we hear, you know, the beautiful Devi Ma Durga, Jai Ma, victory to the Divine Mother, right? And when we say victory to the Divine Mother, that also means victory to ourselves, victory over our, you know, habits, victory to us over our hatred, negativity, victory to us over our struggles, so that we may fully have, like that child, a beautiful, gentle heart. And come to the feet of the divine with such innocence and devotion. And so there's a couple of fun mudras and mantras, and we could do so much to the Divine Mother. But one of the ones that Swamiji had taught was such a beautiful meditation because it's so simple, right? And so you're focusing on your navel center. So let's all go ahead and take a couple moments to do this now. Go ahead and sit up straight again and close your eyes. And then start to focus on the breath, the in-breath and the out-breath. And focus on that navel center. This navel center here is the seat of fire. It is the seat of the divine feminine. And then for now in your head, but if you practice this then outside of Zoom, or actually now everyone's muted, you can do this too now. I want you to say Om Ma, Om Ma, Om Ma. And now as you're saying Om, it's so easy for us to fall into that repetitive mantra drone, Om, Om, Om. But I want you to actually place into it a sense of innocence and yearning. And so the example that he gave us was is to imagine that you're eating your most favorite flavored ice cream. Oh ma, with such joy, focusing on the navel center. Oh ma, bringing in joy into your life, joy into your body, joy into that navel center. Oh ma, oh ma. Whether it's chocolate or pistachio or rocky road, vegan avocado ice cream, vegan oat milk ice cream with chocolate chips. Oh ma. With such gratitude. Oh ma. Oh ma. Oh ma. And now think about one thing that if the mother could help you with tonight, over the next 9 days, what would that thing be? What do you need help with? Think about that one thing, place it in your mind. And now, just like Davy had for us, the Homa earlier, the fire, see yourself writing that one thing onto a piece of paper. See it as clearly as possible. And place that piece of paper into the fire and say swaha, 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 swaha. It is done. And let's go back to the Om Ma with such joy. Joy for releasing. Om Ma, thank you so much for taking that from me. That's no longer my burden. Om Ma, you do with it what you will. Om Ma, I trust you. Om Ma, I believe that you will do what's best for me. Om Ma, I release control over knowing how you handle this. Om Ma, Om Ma, Om Ma. Take a couple more moments to sit here, breathing in and out. And open your eyes gently. So does anyone have any questions about Navratri or Durga, about the process of releasing, letting go? You can either type something in the chat or you can raise your hand. There's a little function down towards the bottom of your screen that allows you to raise your hand. If you think of any questions for whether it's going to be for Devi or Sominiji and myself, or Durga Maima is going to be presenting. If you don't have a chance to ask it now, please feel free to come back again. You know, we're going to keep on going. We've got many more beautiful nights of doing this, and you can ask later. You can also message any of us on Facebook and just ask us as well, or send an email. We're happy to help you. And I believe in the event you're able to send a message too, and I can try to get an answer to you. Jema, thank you guys so much, so much for allowing me to share with you some of the beautiful things about Navratri. So I'm very, very happy now to turn it over to Durga Maima. She is a New Jersey Shore native, a devoted wife, mother of 3 girls, and founder of Karma Life Holistic Wellness. Durga Maima is a yogini, intuitive body worker, Reiki master teacher, Yoni steam facilitator, and Ayurveda lifestyle and nutrition practitioner, and a chef with emphasis on feminine form Ayurveda and spiritual tantra. She's been studying and teaching in the health and wellness field for over 15 years, with emphasis on guiding women into becoming active forces in their own healing. She leads the bodywork department at the Atlantic Club in New Jersey, where she's known as the bodywork guru, described as a natural healer, and additionally, she is the lead teacher and creator of the Empower Yoga Teacher Program and offers certification courses and continuing education program through the Yoga Alliance and International Association of Reiki Professionals. Durga Mai Ma had the privilege of studying with teachers such as Somini Ji here tonight of Kula Kamala Ashram, Katie Silcox of Shakti School, Mary Thompson, CAS, Ayurvedacharya, and Dr. Zelen Boyd. Rooted in empowering and inspiring students to awaken to their own inner teacher, Louisa offers workshops and self-care retreats throughout the year. She's amazing, beautiful courses, certification courses, retreats, and also Ayurveda cooking classes and also Ayurveda products as well. I'm so pleased and happy to now turn this over to Durga Mai Ma.
I need to unmute. Am I unmuted now? Thank you, Jyoti Ma, and thank you to the other co-hosts, Devi, and of course, Swamini and Shadananda. I am so beyond grateful and amazed to be here on this beautiful evening, celebrating the essence of Ma, which is in everything, and she is everywhere, and she is within all of us. So I'm so grateful to share a little bit about how I celebrate and how I invoke the essence of Ma during these 9 days of Navratri, starting with our first evening tonight, which is, as everyone says, most important. So just a little bit about Navratri being the first night, and the goddess Durga Shakti, again, celebrating her 9 forms. And so there are many ways to connect to goddess, to Shakti, to Durga, whether it be through mantra, mudra, whether it be through scents, whether it be through plants and herbs. There's so many different ways of bringing her closer to you and bringing her into your life, and kind of basking in that essence of her, which is in everything. So just talking about a little about this evening, I wanted to share on how we invoke the essence of Durga Ma or Ma Durga through medicinal herbs, gemstones. I'll share a couple of mudra and through the chakras of the body, the energy centers of the body. So I wanted to go over just NavDurg, so the 9 forms, 9 essence of Ma, and so in the 9 forms, there's 9 herbs that represent for each evening that you celebrate and honor Ma. That representation is the essence of NavDurg, and in the Markandeya Purana, the 9 herbs are referred to as carrying the essential characteristics of Durga. Excuse me. And so Durga, in this text, they refer to it as the kavaj, or the shield, right? And so these 9 herbs of the essence of Durga are considered to be the shield which protects us from ill health and bestows us with great good health, right? So through these 9 essence, or these 3 or the 9 plants and herbs. I'll start with today being the first, and being the Shailaputri, being the first of 9 forms of Durga. The essence of the herb that represents this evening is Marobalan, or Harad, you might have heard. There's different sayings of what this herb is called, just like, you know, with the different stories of how, you know, everything is spoken as well. So that may change different, you know, to some different cultures or lineage. But in this one, it is also called Himawati. And Himawati is a primary medicine of Ayurveda. And within this one essential herb, there actually are 7 different types of particular different 7 attributes to this as well. And one of them, which I actually know, because many of these herbs are hard to get to this certain parts of our country and where I'm at, for sure. But one of that I do that I really know about, and that I actually take every day, every morning, with warm water and lemon, is hatataki. And so I've been taking that for a few months now, and it's really good for all of these herbs that are really good for expelling, you know, toxins from the body, but also are a great adaptogens. So most of these herbs are all considered to be medicinal, with medicinal properties. And so that is the first herb of the evening. And so we have 9 of them. I'm going to be speaking 2 other times from tonight as well. So I won't share all 9 of them. I'm going to savor it a little bit and just share the first 3 evenings and then move on. So the second evening, Brahmacharini is the second form of Durga, and the herb representing her is called Brahmi. And I'm sure you've heard, you know, that's pretty common. Medicinal herb is Brahmi, and its well-known herb is good for blood circulation and sharpen your memory. It's great for stamina. Also helps to attaining a clear voice. So it actually helps with the upper respiratory. Brahmi is capable of clearing malfunctioning elements from the blood as well. So it has been advised that Brahmacharini, while taking Brahmi as medicine, helped to preserve love, wisdom, and knowledge. So that's Brahmi. And that is the second, for the second evening of NavDurg. Moving on and then going into herb to Brahma, good for blood circulation. Yes. Yes. So third is Chandragranta. I'm sure I'm going to have to really brush up on my Sanskrit after this as well. I see you. Okay. And so the third evening, we're working with a chamsuri. It is also the name of the herb that has leaves, but the whole plant is actually used. And so the leaves of chamsuri are also used for cooking. And this herb is also called Chandrika. And so that might sound more familiar to you, Chandrika or Charmhanti. And as later names suggest, it is very useful in curing obesity, good for stamina, good for the heart. And energetically, it destroys evil and helps to destroy negativity. So who doesn't need to destroy that? So those are the first 3 evenings that I wanted to share. That's some of the medicinal herbs or plants that are used, possibly even used for puja, which, for Durga Puja, flowers are used, plants are used, herbs are used, the bark of the trees are used. There's so many different things, flowers, fruit as well. So many things that we use to celebrate the essence of Ma. And so I wanted to take that a little further, and so during my little investigations and my research, and just through my studies, I've read that the essence of Durga, the goddess Durga and Shakti, actually there's an herb, a medicinal herb that's called Alypta alba, or you might know it as false daisy. And so this plant is a very beautiful, green, lots of greenery to it, but it has very beautiful little white flowers all on them. And so the whole plant is actually used medicinally, and it is said that it helps to activate the crown chakra, which is one of the spaces, one of the energy centers of the body that draws the essence of Ma, as well as the root chakra or Muladhara chakra. So this Alypta alba medicinal plant is an ancient, it's the ancient Siddha masters used it to access the higher intelligence and states of ecstatic bliss. Durga is often linked to the crown chakra, and some say that this is a place where that Shakti merges with Shiva, and so this is why this center is a representation of Durga, and it was actually I read about a Swami Ramalingam who used Alypta alba, and did I get that right? I see you. It turns out that he used Alypta alba to turn his body into light, right? So, and so these myths that we hear and that are very interchangeable, they change, as myths serves as a roadmap of the human psyche. And so it actually helps to provide insight and explanations for our trials and tribulations of our own human experiences. So myths speak to unseen realms of our existence that mysteriously shape and guide our lives in ways that become obvious once we relax the over-controlling logical mind. And so I thought that was really important for those who don't understand why we talk, of these myths, of these different myths of cultures and things like that. So I just wanted to share that little part of that. But getting back on track, because I tend to go a little off of track. Taking it back to the plant essence and gemstones and mudras. So again, back to the 9 different evenings. We have the 3 so far. And when I speak the second evening and third, we'll go over a little bit more about Lakshmi and the plants and essence of her, and then Saraswati on the last evening that I'll be speaking. So sticking to our Durga Ma tonight, I wanted to talk about a doctor that I actually read about, who is really into plant essence and relating plant essence, invoking the god or goddesses. And so Dr. Pila from Nabu Botanicals, his mission is to bring intelligence to humanity. So he said that each plant is ruled by a god or goddess, and that the plant's true physical and spiritual properties can be accessed by the connecting with these medicinal plants or herbs. He said in India, it's a live tradition to have that connection between God or goddess and plants, knowing that they have miraculous abilities. So the goddess is everywhere. She's everywhere. She's in with you, me, and every living thing. And so this is a time to expand. This is, intuitive, all-knowing intelligence that we're invoking from these medicinal plants and herbs. And so this evening, I actually wanted to share with you a tea that I put together that I would love to just talk about for a moment, because they're all medicinal qualities of Ma. And so when you're drawing in the essence or invoking Ma, her energy, essence of her, it's you're using these things and you're blessing these things. And so one of them to create my tea for Durga is Shatavari root. And so Shatavari root is said to be good for everything, but mainly the reproductive, and it's good for fertility and anything that's really going on within the reproductive system. And so another one, which is actually one of the medicinal herbs for NavDurg, I'm pretty sure, I think it's the 7th or 8th night of NavDurg, is Tulsi, or we call holy basil, right? And so that's another medicinal herb or that I will add into my tea. And then of course, we got to have some red rose. So rose, right? For the heart, right? Mother's love. So I add some rose into that tea. And then for the last ingredient from my Durga tea is cardamom. So we have Shatavari, Tulsi, rose, and cardamom, and that creates a beautiful blend. And you can put it all in your mug and you can bless it, thinking, drawing in those thoughts and essence of Ma, and then enjoy your tea, right? It's just a wonderful way to celebrate, and especially on the first evening, right, of Ma. So moving on, I also brought with me, since we talked about the essence of Ma representing some of the crown chakra, we have a gemstone, crystal quartz. And crystal quartz is really good for supporting that chakra, that energy space of the crown. So this is one of the gemstones that are known to represent Ma Durga. And I love to put this on my altar. And it brings me good vibes, energy. It makes me think of Ma and how she's in me and reminds me of her essence. And then another gemstone that also I would say represents Ma, speaking of the root chakra, is carnelian. And so red, right, representing Muladhara, the root chakra. And so this is another stone that, you know, draws the essence of Ma, and I like to keep it at my altar, and it provides happiness for me, stability, you know, that security that Ma's got my back, you know, she's there for me. So, you know, it's a beautiful thing to surround yourself with these reminders, right? These you know, plant herbs, these gemstones, it's the taste, it's the smells, it's the everything, you know, that you can incorporate into your life, that can just draw in the essence and remind you of Ma and how she adores us, you know. So yeah, so that's that. And so I'm very close with plants and herbs, and so I fully believe that, you know, plants help to awaken our senses. They activate certain emotions within us, feelings. You know, they have natural abilities that connect us to everything, you know, and that is Ma, that's Shakti, you know, she's everything and she's everywhere. So so you may even see, when you see a picture of the Tridevi, you know, you see you know, Parvati in the front, and her mudra, her arm, her hand is up, right? Abhaya mudra. And so it's the fearlessness, it's the fearless mudra that she's holding up there. And so it's that's what she's invoking to her devotees, you know, to have no fear, you know. So it's a beautiful mudra, but also there's another mudra I wanted to share, and it's the Shakti Mudra. And so I did have a diagram, but I'm not even going to bother to try to do all of that because I don't even know. Can I get it in there? I don't know. I'll just show you. It just seems easier that way. So this mudra is, you have your fist is closed, and then you have your thumb overlapping your middle finger, and then your pointer finger just kind of curls right over the thumb there. And so that is, and if you can see, this is the Shakti Mudra. This is the goddess mudra. And so I wanted to actually do this mudra with just a small meditation as well, because mudras are so important to our practice, you know, just as important as meditation, mantra, and all those other things that help us, you know, to stay within our sadhana. So mudra, for those who really don't know too much about mudras, and mudra can leave an impression on your psyche, just like a mantra. And so a mudra they call a seal or a gesture. So some may say that it's yoga of the hands and the fingers, right? And so these mudras can also coincide with different aspects or different, things, organs in our body, different parts of our body as well. So when you do this mudra and then you have your mantra, it's like double whammy. I don't know. I like to say it's reinforcing, right? It's creating this. I don't want to say shield, but it kind of is. It's reinforcing that devotion and invoking that aspect of Ma in your life. So so let's just sit up nice and tall, and we're just gonna do this mudra here. And so again, it's the Shakti Mudra, and so thumb extended over the pointer over the thumb, and then you can have it in the right and the left, both. It's really up to you. And let's just gently close the eyes for a moment here as well. And so just begin to become very aware of the Durga Shakti as a shimmering presence around you. You can visualize her seated on her lion. Her dark hair streams over her shoulders. She wears a golden crown, necklaces, rings, bracelets, and a scarlet silk sari. See her magnificent arms, strong, bristling with weapons. She carries the bow, sword, trident, lotus, these are just some of her weapons, her aspects. Offer your salutations to her, or you can ask her for guidance, whether it be in a decision or for strength. If you need to stand up for something that you know is right, you can always call on Ma Durga. And then bring a question into your heart. And ask Ma Durga, without any other thoughts, and offer any obstacles up to her as well. You can say, I offer all this to Durga Shakti. Ask that her grace dissolve all obstacles, inner and outer. And now with an inhalation, feel that you breathe in the goddess's energy. On the exhalation, feel that you breathe it through your body and back into the world. And when you begin to come out, back out of this meditation, have the feeling of the power, the essence of Durga within you, surrounding you and loving you unconditionally. Walk with the sense that Durga is walking with you. Speak with the sense that Durga's power comes through your words. And then notice how you feel with yourself being filled with Ma Durga's energy. And then you can gently flutter the eyes open and just take a few breaths. And just noticing the essence that surrounds you, that's within you. Okay. So, coming back, bring it back. Coming back to what I was talking about with invoking the essence of Ma. And so when I'm cooking, when I'm preparing food for myself, for others, I ask Ma's blessing. I ask her to work through me, to give and deliver that food, that nurturing, that, to others, work through me. Because as we know, or may not know, it's those feelings during your time that you're cooking a meal. It's what you're doing, what you're thinking, how you're preparing those meals that that a person is going to feel, that they're going to pick up on, right? And so you never want to cook in anger, right? So I ask for her blessings when I'm cooking so that anything that I'm feeling can be somewhat muted. And the essence of her is just coming through, So that food that's going into that individual's body is filled with love. I want them to feel it. I want them to taste it. I want them to know it, So by invoking the essence of her during those times of when you are doing seva, or when you're, serving anyone, those are the times, that you can call on her and ask her, come through, work through me, give me strength, give me, fearlessness, or, squash the ego a little bit for me today. Whatever it is, she is there, and you feel that. I know I do. So just a little bit again, back to the NavDurg, and so the 9 different essence or herbs for that. I talked a little bit before about Tulsi and creating a tea here for Durga. And so Tulsi is considered to be the queen of herbs. And those of you have never worked with Tulsi, it expels mucus from the body. It's actually it's a great herb to work with, even in this season right now, because it's going to help build up the immune system. It's an adaptogen. And so it helps to soothe the nervous system. You know, it's going to calm you down. It's the respiratory, and it's a great antioxidant. So it also helps to support ojas, and it helps to support rasa dhatu, which is the plasma, the tissues, plasma tissue of the body. And so Tulsi is a great herb to work with, and it is an herb that represents the many essence of Ma, and it's one of my favorite herbs to work with as well. It's a natural nervine, and so it also helps to sharpen memory. And so who doesn't need that every day? So yes, so when I create my Durga tea this morning, I had all of those qualities in mind, as well as, you know, the other herbs that I spoke of: Shatavari, rose, and the spice cardamom. And then you can also add, if you wanted to, some orange peel or maybe some lemon in that to finish it off afterwards. So it's a great tea. So in the Tridevi, we have Parvati, we have Lakshmi, we have Saraswati, and each one of these goddesses have qualities, have, you know, Shakti essence to them. And so again, I'd like to speak about them a little bit further down. We'll break them down individually and just talk about some of the plants and some of the essence that help to support those two as well. I know I probably should be talking a lot more, but I don't have a lot more to say. But I would love to open it up for any questions, maybe about some herbs or anything that I have mentioned. I mean, we've talked about the mudra, we've talked about, you know, invoking, you know, through the mudra and using plant herbs, and then creating, you know, a tea. And so, yeah, I don't know. If there's any questions, I would love to take some. And so let's just go back to Durga Puja, because I mentioned that in Durga Puja, there's so many different parts of the plants that are used, herbs that are used. We use the whole entire essence of plants, the flowers, the stems, the bark, the fruit, even, right? I found that in some of these plants, that, I mean, some of them I didn't know, but then some of them, just by looking around, I mean, I'm known as you know, the plant lady, but just looking around, I hadn't realized how many of these plants, how many of these qualities that I actually just had in my house. You know, for instance, the ficus plant is used for Durga Puja. The hibiscus, which I love hibiscus as, a tea. It's, it's delicious. But the hibiscus plant is used. And then also, different flowers that are used for the garland, and, the fruit that is offered, apples, oranges, lemons. So a lot of which contain the essence of Ma, we find out in nature, right? So one thing I like to do with my girls is go on, little walks, and you're kind of just in nature, and you're foraging, and you're just, picking things up that, call to you. And by the time we're done, we have an array of different things that we have accumulated from our walk, and they all hold the essence and qualities of Ma, so afterwards we'll make a little mandala, and kind of just celebrate. And it's our nature mandala, and it's our contribution. We see you, we acknowledge you, and thank you. So that's something I like to do as well. I don't know. Many people like to forage and things like that. So those are all ways of finding, the essence, and bringing in the qualities of Ma.
Thank you, Durga, so much.
Thank you.
And we had a lot of interest in the herbs. And so I've been typing away quickly and posting on Facebook and posting here. And so hopefully I've answered everyone's questions. And so also I know I got a message about being a little bit newer and to this practice and to the concept of Ma Durga and Navratri. And so my suggestion is, if you come each night, you are going to hear the names, and you'll witness the yagna, the homa that Devi is doing. You'll chant, you'll become familiar. And it's kind of like, somebody asked me one time, they said, well, I feel kind of like I'm not sure I'm comfortable with, cultivating a relationship with something that I'm not entirely familiar with. And I said, well, what happened the last time that you walked into the cafe and saw someone interesting you wanted to talk to? You sat down, or maybe you said hello, and maybe you asked some questions. Where are you from? Are you in the area? What kind of coffee do you like? And that's the way that we become friends, is through inquiry, through asking, through making ourselves accessible, through listening, and through just being open-hearted about the possibilities of where this can all take us. And over time, you learn a little bit each day, and then by the end of the week, you'll have a little bit of a better picture. And you'll definitely know if this is what your heart is called to. And I can't imagine that it wouldn't be, but everybody has their own temperament and their own dharma that they must live with. So, but if you come each night, and if you listen to everything that is being shared by all the speakers, and we'll put some notes in the chat like I'm doing for everybody, as we go along, if it's necessary, then I think that by the end of this program, you'll have a pretty good foundation. When we talk about practicing Navratri, celebrating Navratri, we're absolutely talking about ritual, right? So we're talking about fire ritual. We're talking about chanting. We're talking about puja, about offering fruits and vegetables and flowers and essences. We're talking about taking the essence into ourself by the way we dress, the colors we wear, the type of gemstones that we include, the types of foods that we ingest or we don't ingest, because there can also be cleansing practices that are committed to during this time. And so Navratri is really the opportunity on every single level of our being to come into this place of devotion, to come into this place of, you know what? It's been so wonderful to meet with you, Ma. Now I'm going to take this time to get to know you, Ma. And that's what we're doing day in and day out, is refreshing our memory about the things that we can do in our life to hold space for her, to make space for her, and to also come to a deeper understanding of all that she is. And it's not just one night, and it's not just 1 week. It really takes time. Like any spiritual practice, to become skillful takes a matter of time and a willingness to invest that time with an open heart to the possibilities. So Jyotima, before I bring us into kind of the last phases of the night, would you like to say anything else? Durga Ma, thank you so much. So much wonderful information there. And the one thing that I will tell everybody is that when we're working with herbs, we want to be mindful. So just run the names, past your doctor. Make sure if you're on medication that it's not any kind of a contraindication for you, or if you have allergies, make sure that the particular herb is not in the family of plants that you're allergic to. For example, I have an allergy to valerian. I cannot take valerian. And so there's a lot of Ayurvedic remedies that include valerian. So I have to be super mindful about staying away from those. Okay, Jyoti Ma.
Yes, I wanted to someone had actually brought out also in the comments, they were asking about the one mantra I shared. I said Om, Aim, and if you look at the Sanskrit words, so I kind of peeled up the Sanskrit words, the Aim or Aim is actually I is like the transliteration, Aim. But the teacher that I had pronounced it Aim, like the toothpaste. So I just wanted to put that out there, that if you're looking at Sanskrit, that yes, Sanskrit is Aim, or AI, Aim, essentially is the way that it's pronounced. And then I wanted to also just share for tomorrow's schedule. So for those of you that will be, looking forward to joining us tomorrow, we're going to start once again with Homa with Devi at 6:30, followed by meditation and satsang with Swaminiji. Devi will actually be one of our guest speakers tomorrow night as well. So she'll be talking at 8 o'clock. And then at 9 o'clock, Renee Sunbird, who is an amazing Kirtanwala from Austria, she is going to most likely be giving us a video that she made especially just for this Navratri celebration. But she is seeing if there's any way possible. I think she can be awake, but it will be 3 o'clock in the morning in Austria. So anyways, I hope you're going to join us. The full schedule is on Kula Kamala's website. So if you go to Kula Kamala, KAMALA foundation.org, you can see at the very top of the navigation bar, it says Navratri. If you click on that, it will have the schedule for the entire week. And then also Swaminiji does have some information that we talked about tonight, just a little bit about Navratri and about how the nights break out. So all of that information is there. And as I mentioned earlier, if there's questions that come up or things that you think about after the fact, or maybe you didn't want to bring up during the celebration this evening, please feel free to email any of us, Devi, Durga Ma, Swaminiji, and I. Facebook message us. You can message in the event link, and we're happy to do the best we can to answer your questions. And I also just want to say that this entire celebration is absolutely free. It's such a pleasure and honor to share this with you. However, if you're able to make a donation, it's always appreciated. You can on Kula Kamala Foundation's website. At the top, there is a donation button. And if you're able to donate even $1, $5 during the celebration, it's always wonderful and very helpful. Swaminiji does so much for the community. And if you follow her on Facebook, if you haven't already, they have a beautiful vegetable garden, and she's been growing vegetables all summer long that is used a lot of times in the cafeteria and donated, but almost, I think it was like more than half, or 75% of the vegetable garden went to actually feed the hungry in the Reading area. And Swamiji is always offering free classes and talks all the time. And so it's just such a wonderful way to continue to support her and the work that she is doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jyoti. Thank you for saying that. And so the color for tomorrow, we have a question. Jyoti Ma, please let us know the color for tomorrow.
It's white for purity.
Yay! Okay, wonderful. Very good. So yes, I just want to say before I bring us into our last session for the evening, to say again, thank you. Thank you to all of our speakers. Devi, what can I say, Anati? You are my little sister. I love you so much. And it's always such a blessing to have you share your devotion with us, and to learn from you, to practice with you, and to share the space with you. And Durga Mai Ma, what can I say? You are such an amazing woman. You have, since we've known each other, how long is it now? Since
6 years.
6 years. Yes, absolutely. And the good work that you're doing in the community, and the amazing offerings that you're making to your community in your area, especially during this time when so many people have so many stressors, and so I'm deeply appreciative of you. I'm deeply appreciative of you as a student, as a colleague, as a friend, as a sister, and as a spirit, that's moving through this world. And Jyoti Ma, you have been amazing. I would like to say a very special thanks to Jyoti Ma, because she has organized this whole event. And I am so very grateful for her. You are just one of the most amazing individuals that I have ever met in my life. You say one thing to this woman and she runs with it. And we are pretty much two peas in a pod that way. So if you're ever in the same room with both of us at one time, just be prepared for the Shakti energy. Woo! I am so grateful for you, and you are a constant inspiration. Whether it's that you're kirtanwala with the mas and the bas, or you're traveling on pilgrimage, or you're working to support so many different people. I'm just so grateful that our paths have crossed in this life. So thank you so much for everything that you bring forward. And to everybody here, I would love for you to remember that the nature of your being, the nature of who you truly are, is love. And the more that we empower ourselves and others to remember that, the greater experience we are going to have of that love. And so it becomes incumbent upon each one of us to step out of any fear that we might have, that our love is not good enough, not strong enough, not powerful enough, and into the confidence, the faith, and the trust that love defeats all. It is the most powerful energy in this universe, and it will bring us where it is that we seek to go in our heart of hearts. I would like to share with you, I have a guru bai. So a guru bai is a brother under the guru. And so I would like to share you, he sent me a note for Navratri this evening. His name is Swami Brahmanishtananda, and he sent me the following, which is an excerpt from a talk given by Swami Krishnananda on October 13th, 1972, during Navratri worship. Swamiji said, "Our longings are fundamentally very deep and cannot be easily satisfied by temporary, makeshift, or day-to-day adjustment of outer circumstances. Our desires are profound. Our yearnings are very unintelligible to outer atmosphere of our daily life. We seem to have a root which is deeper than what can be comprehended by our normal understanding of the world. We grow from all sides, and when we long or desire or yearn or aspire, we do so in a very comprehensive manner. This aspiration of the human being is really the soul's longing for freedom. All our desires are desires of the soul ultimately. Though they look like sensory desires, mental desires, intellectual desires, social desires, etc., they are, at the bottom, the longing of the soul of the human being, which ramifies itself into various distracted rays through the operations of the mind and the activities of the senses. Our longings are therefore capable of being collected into a single essential power, an inward urge, which we may call the longing for freedom. It is freedom that we ask for, and it is freedom that anyone asks for. Varieties of longings and multitudes of enterprises in the world can be collected into a single focus of the soul's aspiration for liberation. And this aspiration for liberation is not merely the longing of the human being, but of all that is created anywhere on earth or in the heavens. Whether it is the plant, the animal, the man, the celestial, the aspiration is this much. All longings can be boiled down into the quintessence of longing for liberation, freedom from all sides, and an ultimate supremacy over one's own self in the realization of this freedom. The Devi Mahatmya, which in a majestic poetry in Sanskrit describes to us the epic of the march of the human soul to its destination, the realization of this freedom, is the dramatic aspect of the great worship of the Divine Mother during these 9 days of Navratri. How beautiful is that? Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you. So with that, let's all come to a nice seated posture. And I'll just put it out there one more time. If anybody has any questions for either myself or for Jyoti, for Devi, or for Durga, now would be the time. Okay, I don't see any hands raised. So we're going to sit tall. We're going to come into a little meditation to end our evening this evening. So closing the eyes, breathing in and breathing out. Connecting with the breath. Recognizing the essence of the Divine Mother in the breath. As you breathe in, she breathes out. And as you breathe out, she breathes in. Each breath you take is her breath, infusing you with life, giving you the gift of experience, the gift of being. So each inhalation is a receiving of a gift. Each exhalation is a thank you. Each inhalation is the receiving of something very sacred. Each exhalation is a ritual of gratitude. Each inhalation, the mother says, I love you. And each exhalation, we say, I love you too. And so just connecting with that breath, you can place the right hand on the heart and left hand on the belly. And you can join me if you like. Om Devi Shailaputri Namaha. 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 Beloved Mother, accept our devotion as pure, heartfelt, innocent, sweet, meaningful. We humbly place our hearts at your feet. And we ask that if there were any errors or mistakes, that they be forgiven. Our intentions were in the correct place. We ask that as we walk through this life, that you walk alongside us. And that perhaps you even walk in front of us, guiding the way. That you clear the obstacles that might derail us. And that if those obstacles are meaningful, that you teach us how to see their meaning. Beloved Mother Durga, please annihilate my ego. Please take my unhealthy ego and place it onto the altar. Please take from me that which I do not know how to control. Please take from me that which I am unable to utilize in a way that is of service to you. Please free me from my bondage to that which keeps me limited and open my heart and mind to a greater expansiveness and a greater truth. Beloved Shailaputri, bestow upon us your qualities of humility and patience, strength and courage, clarity and love. And to all the forms of the Mother, and to the Maha Shakti, the formless one, be with us. And please never stop reminding us. Please never let us go astray. Hold us in your loving embrace and keep us warm and safe. Join the hands together in front of the heart. We'll lift our voices in one Om and in one All Beings mantra. If you know the mantra, please join. Om Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Now and always honoring your light and the light of all beings everywhere. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Jai Mata Di. Jai Ma. Thank you all so much for being with us this evening. Have a blessed night and we'll see you tomorrow. Good night.